The stars looked different from the observation deck of the GCS horizon. Olivia Reeves stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the unfamiliar constellations. Humans had been part of the Galactic Alliance for just over a decade, but space still felt new and strange. "Commander Reeves," a voice called from behind her, "we've detected something unusual." Olivia turned to see Greg Winters, her chief science officer. His face showed a mix of excitement and concern. "Show me," she said. They walked to the bridge where a holographic display showed a planet that glowed with swirls of blue and green atmosphere. "Proxima Ferox," Greg said, pointing to the display. "Not on any of our charts, but the Alliance database has a small note about it." "What kind of note?" Olivia asked. "A warning. Most species avoid this place. The ecosystem is dominated by apex predators." Olivia studied the planet with growing interest. Humanity's role in the Alliance was still being defined. They were newcomers, seen as technologically behind most member species. This could be a chance to prove their worth. "Any signs of civilization?" she asked. "No artificial structures," said Natalie Simmons, the security officer. "But we are picking up a signal. Could be a distress call." Olivia frowned. Alliance protocols were clear about uncharted planets with dangerous life forms. Standard procedure would be to report the signal and wait for a specialized team. "Let me hear it," she said instead. A sound filled the bridge, not quite a voice, but clearly a pattern. It repeated with growing urgency. "That's no automated beacon," said Alan Bennett, the ship's xenobiologist. His eyes were wide with interest. "That's a living creature calling for help." "Alliance protocols say we should report and wait," Natalie reminded everyone. Olivia nodded. "I know the protocols. I also know that signal won't wait for Alliance. Bureaucracy." She made her decision. "Prepare a landing team. We'll investigate." 90 minutes later, Olivia led a team of 6 through the dense forest of Proxima Ferox. The air was thick and warm, and strange calls echoed in the distance. "The signal is coming from just ahead," Greg said, checking his scanner. Inside that, rock formation. They approached cautiously. The formation looked like a small cave entrance, partly hidden by fallen stones. "Life signs?" Olivia asked. "One large organism," Greg confirmed. "And several smaller ones. Hard to get clear readings." Alan moved forward, his medical scanner ready. "The large life form is injured. Badly." A low growl came from the cave. Everyone froze. "Maybe we should reconsider this," Natalie whispered, her hand moving to her stun pistol. Alan shook his head. "Something's hurt in there. We can't just leave." Olivia took a deep breath and stepped forward. "This is Commander Olivia Reeves of the research vessel GCS Horizon. We received your distress call and are here to help." The growling stopped. After a moment of silence, a sound like words came from the cave, though in no language they recognized. "The translator needs more input," Greg said, adjusting his device. Olivia took another step. "We mean no harm. We want to help." A massive shape moved in the darkness of the cave. Then it emerged into the light, and the humans gasped. The creature stood over 8 feet tall on powerful hind legs. Its body was covered in scales that shifted between dark blue and purple. A long tail with sharp ridges swept behind it, and its head featured multiple eyes and a jaw that could easily snap a human in half. "A draconid," Alan whispered in awe. "I've only seen pictures. They're supposed to be one of the most dangerous species in the galaxy." The draconid swayed, clearly struggling to stay upright. Dark fluid leaked from wounds on its side and leg. Despite its fearsome appearance, its eyes held intelligence. "And fear," it growled again, but this time the translator picked up words. "Leave, danger. Not safe. You're injured," Alan said, stepping forward despite Natalie's warning hand. "We can help you." The Draconid hissed, showing rows of teeth. Then it collapsed to one side, revealing what it had been protecting. A clutch of 7 large, iridescent eggs. "She's a mother," Alan said softly. "She's protecting her young." The Draconid's many eyes fixed on Alan. The translator caught her words. "Poachers. Killed mate ... eggs will die ... I fail." Olivia made another decision. "We're taking her and the eggs to the ship." "Commander," Natalie objected. "Draconids are apex predators, the most feared hunters in 3 systems. You want to bring one aboard?" "A wounded mother protecting her babies," Olivia countered. "Would you do any less? Besides, look at her. She called for help. She's intelligent." The team worked quickly. Alan stabilized the Draconid's condition, while the others carefully moved the eggs into special containers. The mother watched every move, growling weakly when anyone got too close to her clutch. "The eggs need controlled temperature," Alan explained as they prepared to transport them. "They're in a critical development stage." The Draconid tried to rise when they moved toward her eggs, but couldn't stand. Alan knelt beside her massive head. "We're helping your babies," he said slowly. "They're safe. You'll be with them soon." The Draconid studied him with intelligent eyes, then made a sound the translator couldn't catch. But the meaning seemed clear. "Enough." A reluctant agreement. Back on the GCS horizon, the medical bay had been quickly converted to accommodate their unusual patient. The eggs rested in a makeshift incubator, while the Draconid lay on a reinforced bed, medical devices monitoring her condition. "Multiple puncture wounds and plasma burns," Alan reported to Olivia, "consistent with weapons fire. Someone was hunting her." "Poachers," Olivia said grimly. She mentioned them before collapsing. "Draconid scales and organs fetch high prices on the black market," Greg added. "And those eggs would be worth a fortune." The Draconid stirred, her eyes opening to find humans surrounding her. She roared, trying to rise. "Your eggs are safe," Alan said quickly, pointing to the nearby incubator. "Look, they're right here." The Draconid turned her head and relaxed slightly when she saw her clutch. The translator picked up broken phrases. "Why help? Humans, new species ... not known ... That's what humans do," Alan said simply. "We help." Olivia's communication device beeped. "Commander, we're receiving a message from Alliance headquarters. They're demanding a full report on our unauthorized landing." "Tell them we're dealing with a medical emergency," Olivia replied. "There's more." The voice continued. "They say they're sending a ship to collect the Draconid and her eggs. Something about a protection facility." Alan and Olivia exchanged looks. The Draconid was watching them, her multiple eyes missing nothing. "Understand human words," the translator caught her saying. "Protection facility is death. Eggs sold. Please." It was the please that decided it for Olivia. A creature this powerful, reduced to begging for her young. "No one's taking you or your eggs anywhere without your consent," Olivia promised. "You have my word." The Draconid studied her for a long moment, then made a motion with her clawed hand. "Name ... Kexler." "I'm Olivia," the commander replied. "This is Alan. You and your children are under our protection now, Kexler." For the first time, the fearsome predator relaxed fully, her trust given to these strange, soft creatures who had answered her call when no one else would. In the incubator, one of the eggs trembled slightly, the first sign of new life stirring within. 3 days passed aboard the GCS Horizon. Kexler's wounds were healing faster than Alan expected. The Draconid spent most of her time watching over her eggs, which now rested in a special incubator the engineering team had built. Her recovery rate is amazing, Alan told Olivia as they observed Kexler from the medical bay's viewing area. Her species must have evolved incredible healing abilities. Makes sense for an apex predator, Olivia replied. What about the eggs? Alan's face lit up with excitement. They're fascinating. I've been monitoring their development. The scans show complex nervous systems already forming. These aren't just animals, Commander. The draconids are highly intelligent. Kexler turned her head toward them, as if she knew they were talking. About her. The translator they had set up nearby picked up her words. Young ones grow well. Human care ... unexpected. Alan stepped closer to the glass. Why unexpected, Kexler? The draconid scales shifted in a pattern they had come to recognize as thoughtfulness. Humans new to stars. Other species fear draconid. Run away, not help. Humans are different, Alan said simply. The ship's communication system interrupted them. Commander Reeves to the bridge immediately. When Olivia arrived at the bridge, Natalie was waiting with a grim expression. We've got a problem. Alliance officials are demanding we turn over the draconid and our eggs to their custody. They're sending a transport ship. On what grounds? Olivia asked. They're claiming endangered species protection protocols. They want to take Kexler and her clutched to a specialized facility. Greg, who had been quiet until now, looked up from his console. I've been researching draconids in the Alliance database. They are indeed endangered, but there's very little information about any protection facilities. Olivia frowned. Something doesn't feel right. Natalie, can you dig deeper into this facility they want to send our guests to? Already on it, Natalie replied. I've been going through unofficial channels. What I'm finding isn't good. She pulled up several documents on the main screen. These are shipping manifests I accessed through my security contacts. They show rare animal parts being transported from this so-called protection facility to black market hubs. They're poachers, Olivia said, her voice hard with anger, using Alliance authority as a cover. Not just poachers, Greg added. According to these records, they're supplying draconid parts to some very wealthy and powerful individuals in the Alliance. Olivia's decision was immediate. We're not handing over Kexler or her eggs. Send a message to Alliance headquarters stating that we've granted temporary asylum to an endangered sentient being and her offspring. That's going to cause a diplomatic incident, Natalie warned. Then we'll handle it, Olivia said firmly. I'm not sending a mother and her babies to be butchered for parts. Back in the medical bay, Alan was showing Kexler images of Earth. The draconids seemed particularly interested in pictures of forests and oceans. Earth has many different places. Alan explained. Deserts, mountains, forests, oceans. Like home world, Kexler said through the translator. Before the Great Hunt. The Great Hunt? Alan asked. Kexler's eyes dimmed slightly. When I was young, other species came. Killed many. Took young ones. Few draconid left now. Alan felt a wave of sadness. I'm sorry that happened to your people. Kexler studied him with her multiple eyes. Human sadness ... real. You feel for others not like you. Yes, Alan said. That's something humans do well. Olivia entered the medical bay, her face showing concern. Alan, we need to talk. After she explained the situation with the Alliance. Officials, Alan's expression hardened. They're not taking her or the eggs. We'll find another solution. We have 3 days before their ship arrives, Olivia said. I need options. A sound from the incubator drew their attention. One of the eggs was moving more than the others, its shell showing tiny cracks. It's starting to hatch, Alan exclaimed. Kexler tried to rise from her bed, but her injuries were still too severe. She made a distressed sound. What's wrong? Olivia asked. The translator picked up Kexler's urgent words. First hatching needs parent touch. Guidance. Cannot reach. Alan looked at the struggling draconid mother, then at the egg. Tell me what to do. I'll help. Kexler's eyes widened with surprise. Human would touch young? Dangerous time? Hatchling has sharp claws, teeth. I'm a doctor, Alan said simply. Helping is what I do. For a long moment, Kexler was silent. Then she began to give instructions. Place hands here. Support head when comes out. Speak soft words. Under Kexler's guidance, Alan helped as the first draconid hatchling broke free from its shell. The baby was about the size of a human toddler, with scales that shifted between bright blue and green. It had tiny wings folded against its back and looked up at Alan with wide, curious eyes. Hello there, Alan said softly, the hatchling made. A chirping sound and reached out with small clawed hands. Carefully, following Kexler's instructions, Alan lifted the baby and brought it to its mother. Kexler nuzzled her child gently, making soft rumbling sounds. The baby responded with more chirps. She says thank you, the translator picked up. No non-draconid ever touched young before. Too much fear, Alan smiled. She's beautiful. Over the next few hours, the rest of the eggs began to show signs of hatching. Alan called in Dr. Diane Fuller, the ship's xenopsychologist, to observe and help. This is unprecedented, Diane whispered as they watched the second egg crack open. No human has ever witnessed draconid hatching. The trust she's showing us is extraordinary. By the time the third egg hatched, Kexler was allowing both Alan and Diane to help, giving instructions through the translator. The babies seemed curious about the humans, reaching out to touch their faces and hands. They're imprinting on us, Diane realized. On both Kexler and us. Is that normal? Olivia asked, watching from nearby. For draconids, yes, Kexler answered through the translator. Young bond with all who help at hatching. All become ... family. The humans exchanged surprised looks. You mean we're now considered family to your children? Alan asked. Kexler made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. Yes, human now part of clutch bond. Very old tradition. Very important. Olivia smiled, but looked concerned. That might complicate our situation with the Alliance officials. No, Kexler said firmly. Make simple. Clutch bond sacred to all spacefaring species. Even enemies respect. Old law. Greg, who had been researching Alliance legal codes, looked up from his tablet. She's right. I found reference to clutch bond rights in the oldest sections of Alliance. Law. It's considered inviolable across all member species. Olivia's eyes lit up with hope. So if we're clutch bonded to these hatchlings, then no one can legally separate us, Alan finished, carefully cradling the fourth hatchling as it emerged into the world dot, as if understanding the importance of the moment. The tiny draconid reached up and placed a clawed hand against Alan's cheek. Its scales shifted to match the color of his uniform. Acceptance, Kexler explained. Young one claims you as protector. For the first time in days, Olivia felt the tension leave her shoulders. They had found their solution, not through Alliance politics or force, but through the most ancient bond in the galaxy, the trust between a parent and those who help protect their young. 2 weeks passed, and all 7 eggs hatched successfully. The medical bay of the GCS Horizon had been transformed into a nursery for the draconid hatchlings. Kexler was now fully healed and moved freely around the ship, always accompanied by at least one human crew member. The hatchlings grew quickly. They were already the size of human 5-year-olds and showed remarkable intelligence. They learned to use the translator and began picking up human words. The crew had given them names: Zira, Kalo, Ren, Mira, Taz, Vex, and Jax. Diane Fuller, the xenopsychologist, spent hours each day documenting the interactions between the humans and the young draconids. She sat in the observation room now, watching as Alan played a game with Ren and Taz. The bond between the hatchlings and the humans is unlike anything previously recorded, she dictated into her recorder. They show complete trust, even seeking comfort from humans when distressed. Olivia entered the room, looking tired but pleased. How are they doing today? Wonderfully, Diane replied. Their cognitive development is off the charts. Zira has already figured out how to operate the food dispensers. That explains the missing fruit this morning, Olivia said with a smile. She watched as Kexler demonstrated a hunting posture to Kylo and Myra, while Alan observed nearby. How's Kexler adjusting? She's remarkable, Diane said. Initially, I expected her to become more protective as she healed, maybe even hostile. Instead, she's actively encouraging the hatchlings to bond with us. She seems to understand that humans offer something valuable to her young. And what's that? Olivia asked. A different perspective. Different skills. Diane gestured toward the window, where Jox was carefully copying Greg as he worked on a tablet. Draconids are physically powerful and naturally intimidating. But humans have different strengths: problem-solving, technology, empathy. Kexlar wants her children to learn these things. Natalie entered the observation room, her face serious. Commander, we've got a situation. The Alliance transport ship will be here in 6 hours. They're demanding we prepare Kexlar and the hatchlings for transfer. Have you explained about the clutch bond? Olivia asked. I tried. They claim it doesn't apply to non-draconids. Diane looked up sharply. That's not true. The clutch bond is recognized across species. It's one of the oldest laws in space. I know, Natalie agreed. But they're bringing a legal team to argue their case. They're determined to get the draconids. Olivia's jaw tightened. Then we need to be ready. Greg has been researching the clutch bond laws. Get him up here. And tell Alan we need Kexler in the conference room. An hour later, they gathered to plan their defense. Kexler listened intently as Greg explained what they had learned. The clutch bond law is clear, Greg said. Any beings present and assisting during the hatching of endangered sentient species become legal guardians, with rights equal to the biological parent. The Alliance officials will claim humans are too new to galactic society to understand or be bound by these ancient laws. Natalie pointed out, Kexler made a low growling sound. They lie. Law is law, older than Alliance itself. She's right, Greg said. The clutch bond predates the Alliance by thousands of years. It's recognized by every major species. A message alert sounded on the ship's communication system. Commander, said the voice of the communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from another ship. They say they're representatives of the Valkyrin Pride. Kexlera's head snapped up, her scales shifting to a bright, alert pattern. Valkyrin? Here? Who are the Valkyrin? Olivia asked. Another apex predator species, Greg explained quickly. They're known to be extremely territorial and rarely interact with other species. Put them through, Olivia ordered. The main screen. A CTIVAD, showing a fierce-looking creature covered in golden fur with multiple horns crowning its head. It spoke in a rumbling voice that the translator converted. I am Suriek, lead hunter of the Valkyrin Pride. We seek the draconid female Kexler. Kexler stepped forward, her posture defensive. I am here, Suriek of Valkron. My young are under human protection. The Valkron's eyes widened slightly. The rumors are true, then. You have formed a clutch bond with humans. The creatures seem to consider this. Our young are dying, Kexler. A sickness takes them. No Valkron healer can help. Kexler turned to Alan. Human healer has great skill. Saved my young. Alan stepped forward. I'm Dr. Alan Bennett. I might be able to help your young, but I'd need to examine them. Sorieka's expression was hard to read, but the translator conveyed hesitation in his voice. No non-Valkron has ever been permitted to touch our young. Yet you came here, Olivia observed. Why? Desperation, Soriek admitted. Half our new generation is already lost. The rest will follow soon without help. Alan looked at Olivia. Commander, with your permission, I'd like to offer my assistance. Olivia nodded. Of course, but there's another issue. Alliance officials are on their way to forcibly take Kexler and her young, despite our clutch bond. Soriek growled, a sound so fierce that several humans stepped back. They would violate the clutch bond? This is forbidden by the oldest laws. They claim it doesn't apply to humans, Natalie explained. The Valkron leader was silent for a moment. Then he spoke with new determination. Our ship will dock with yours. We will stand with you against this violation. If humans can save our young, then the Valkron Pride acknowledges your clutch bond rights. 3 hours later, the Valkron ship had docked with the GCS Horizon. Sarek brought 3 sick cubs aboard, each barely moving and covered in unusual purple spots. Alan examined them in the medical bay while Kexler watched nearby. They're suffering from radiation poisoning, Alan announced after running tests. Very specific radiation, likely from mineral processing. Sarek looked confused. There is no radiation in our territory. Greg checked his tablet. Actually, there's a new mining operation on the moon of your home planet. Started 8 months. Go by the Xeris Corporation. They didn't get proper permits, Natalie added, looking at her own screen. They're dumping radioactive waste. Alan had already begun treatment. I can help the cubs, but you'll need to stop the dumping or more will get sick. The Xeris Corporation has 3 representatives on the Alliance Council, Greg said quietly. The same council that sent the ship to collect Kexler and her young. Understanding dawned on Olivia's face. They're connected. The same people who want the Draconids are poisoning the Valkron territory. Suriek's fur bristled with rage. They harm our young for profit? This cannot stand. The ship's alert system sounded. Commander, called the bridge officer, the Alliance transport has arrived. They're demanding immediate docking and transfer of the Draconids. Olivia looked at Kexler and Suriek, then at her human crew. Tell them to prepare for docking, but we're not handing over anyone. As the Alliance officials prepared to board, Olivia gathered everyone in the main cargo bay. The 7 Draconid hatchlings stood with the human crew. Kexler positioned herself at the front, with Sarek beside her. Behind them, the Valkron cubs, now beginning to respond to treatment, rested in a medical pod. Remember, Olivia told her crew, we stand on the right side of both Alliance and ancient law. The clutch bond is sacred. The doors opened, and 3 Alliance officials entered, flanked by security personnel. They stopped short at the sight of not only Draconids, but also Valkrons. What is the meaning of this? Demanded the lead official, a tall human named Edward Pierce. You are ordered to prepare the Draconid specimens for transfer. They are not specimens, Olivia replied firmly. They are sentient beings under our protection through the clutch bond. Pierce scoffed. Humans cannot form valid clutch bonds. You've been in space barely a decade. Sariq stepped forward, towering over the Alliance officials. The Valkron Pride recognizes the human clutch bond, as does the Draconid Kexler. By ancient law, their claim stands. Pierce looked unsettled, but pressed on. This is an Alliance matter, not subject to primitive customs. Primitive? Kexler's voice came through the translator, sharp with anger. The clutch bond survived when your ancestors still lived in caves. It will survive long after you're corrupt. Alliance falls. One of the Draconid hatchlings, Zira, stepped forward and spoke clearly through the translator. Human Alan is my clutch parent. I stay with him. One by one, the other hatchlings joined her, each naming a human crew member who had helped with their hatching. The Alliance officials looked at each other uncertainly. Pierce's confident expression began to crack. The Council will hear about this defiance. Yes, Olivia agreed. They will. Along with evidence of illegal mining operations, poisoning the young of the Valkron Pride. She nodded to Natalie, who projected images of the mining facility and medical scans of the Valkron cubs. I wonder how the other Alliance species will react when they learn their council members are poisoning children for profit. Pierce's face paled. Without another word, he turned and led his team back to their ship dot. As the Alliance transport departed, Sariek turned to Alan. Human healer, you have saved our cubs. The Valkron Pride is in your debt. It's what humans do, Alan said simply. We help. Kexler looked at the assembled group, humans, draconids, and Valkrons standing together. Today begins something new, she said. Something important. Olivia nodded in agreement. Yes, I think it does. 6 months passed after the confrontation with the Alliance officials. The GCS Horizon had returned to Earth briefly to report their discoveries, but soon headed back to Proxima Ferox. The planet had been declared a sanctuary under the protection of both Earth and the newly formed Predator Alliance, a coalition of apex predator species who had begun to trust humans. Alan Bennett now led a research team on the surface of Proxima Ferox. They had built a settlement near the cave where they had first found Kexler. The humans called it Haven, and it had grown into a bustling center for interspecies cooperation. Alan walked through the main research building, smiling as he passed a group of young draconids working with human scientists. Kexler hatchlings had grown remarkably fast. They were now the size of human teenagers and showed incredible aptitude for science and language. Zira, the most curious of the clutch, fell into step beside him. Alan Parent, she said in nearly perfect English, the Nexari delegation has arrived. Alan looked surprised. Already? We weren't expecting them until tomorrow. They came early, Zira replied. Mother says they are desperate. The Nexari were a species Alan had only heard about in legends. They were said to be ancient predators who had hidden themselves away from the rest of the galaxy for thousands of years. If they were here now, something serious must have happened. In the main conference room, Olivia was already speaking with the Nexari leader. The creature was unlike anything Alan had seen before, its body covered in shimmering scales that seemed to change not just color, but texture. 4 arms ended in delicate hands with retractable claws, and its face featured golden eyes with vertical pupils. Dr. Bennett, Olivia said as he entered, this is Vashti, matriarch of the Nexari Enclave. The Nexari bowed her head slightly. The human healer. Your reputation travels far. Welcome to Haven, Alan said. How can we help you? Vashti's scales rippled with what seemed like emotion. For centuries, my people have hidden. We were once the most feared hunters in the galaxy, but now we face extinction. Our young are born weaker with each generation. Many do not survive their first year. Kexler, who had been standing quietly nearby, stepped forward. I told Vashti of human healing skills, how you saved my clutch, how you healed Valkron cubs. We would not normally seek outside help, Vashti continued, but we have no choice. The last clutch of eggs, only 3 survived laying. They will hatch soon, and we fear none will live without intervention. Alan nodded thoughtfully. I'll need to examine the eggs and your medical records. Do you have any idea what's causing the decline? Vashti hesitated, then spoke quietly. There are ... stories, ancient tales of a time when another species changed us. Greg, who had been taking notes, looked up sharply. Changed you? You mean genetic manipulation? The stories say the Ancient Ones wished to make us less dangerous, Vashti explained. This was before recorded history. But each generation, the changes become more pronounced. Alan exchanged glances with Olivia. We'll need to run genetic tests. With your permission, of course, Vashti nodded. We have brought the eggs. They are in our ship. As they prepared to examine the Nexari eggs, an alarm sounded throughout the settlement. Natalie's voice came over. The communication system. Unidentified ships approaching. All personnel to emergency stations. Alan rushed to the observation deck with Olivia. Through the large windows, they could see 3 ships descending toward Haven. Pirates, Kexler growled, joining them. I recognized the markings. They raid. Across many systems. They're after the sanctuary, Olivia realized. We've got too many valuable species in one place. Natalie arrived, looking grim. Our defenses aren't fully operational yet. The shield system can only cover the main building. Evacuate everyone to the main building, Olivia ordered. Priority on the young and eggs. As the pirates' ships landed, on the outskirts of the settlement, the humans and their allies rushed to secure the vulnerable. The draconid hatchlings helped guide the younger children of various species. The Valkyrin, now permanent residents of Haven, formed a protective line around the main building. Alan worked quickly to move the Nexari eggs to the secure laboratory in the center of the main building. Vashti helped, her forearms carefully cradling each precious egg. I shouldn't have brought them here, Vashti said, her scales darkening with distress. I've endangered the last of our young. You did the right thing, Alan assured her. We'll protect them. Outside, the pirates began their assault. They were a mix of species, heavily armed and moving with practiced efficiency. They targeted the outer buildings first, looking for valuable specimens to steal. What they didn't expect was the organized resistance. Sorek, the Valkron leader, had been training a defense force made up of various predator species. They moved as one unit, using the natural hunting abilities of each species to devastating effect. In the command center, Olivia watched through security feeds as the pirates encountered the defenders. They weren't expecting resistance, she observed, especially not from multiple apex predator species working together. They're retreating to their ships, Natalie reported, but one group of pirates had broken through to the main building. They forced their way into the laboratory section, where Alan and Vashti were protecting the Nexari eggs. Hand over the eggs, demanded the lead pirate, pointing a weapon at them. Nexari eggs will make us rich. Alan stepped in front of the incubator. These eggs are under human protection. Leave now. The pirate laughed. Human protection? What can you soft creatures do against us? The door behind the pirates slid open. The pirates turned to find themselves facing Kexler, Suryek, and 5 other adult apex predators from different species. Behind them stood Zira and the other draconid young. They can call us, Kexler said simply. What followed was brief, decisive. The pirates, though well armed, were no match for the coordinated attack of multiple apex predators, fighting to protect young under their collective care. When it was over, Olivia had the captured pirates secured. We'll turn them over to Alliance Justice, she told the gathered leaders, along with evidence of their activities. Vashti approached Alan, who had never left his position guarding the Nexari eggs. You would have died to protect eggs not of your kind, she said, her tone indicating wonder. That's what we do, Alan replied. Humans protect the vulnerable. It's in our nature. Later that evening, after the excitement had died down, Alan sat in the laboratory, running tests on samples from the Nexari eggs. Greg worked beside him, analyzing the genetic data. I think I found something, Greg said suddenly. Look at this sequence here. It's not natural. It's an engineered degradation pattern. Over generations, it causes progressive genetic breakdown. Alan studied the display. Can we fix it? Possibly, Greg said. Human genetic medicine has come far. We might be able to develop a therapy that reverses the damage. Then let's get to work, Alan said. A soft noise from the incubator caught their attention. One of the Nexari eggs was moving, tiny cracks appearing on its surface. Alan immediately called Vashti. The Nexari matriarch arrived quickly, her scales pulsing with anxiety. It's too early, she said. The egg should not hatch for another week. Sometimes stress can trigger early hatching, Alan explained. The pirate attack might have done it. They watched as the egg continued to crack. Following the procedures he had learned with the Draconid hatchings, Alan helped as the tiny Nexari emerged. It was smaller than it should be, its scales dull and breathing labored. The weakness, Vashti said sadly. It will not survive. Not without help, Alan agreed. He gently lifted the hatchling and placed it in a special medical pod he had designed. But we have something your ancestors didn't have. What is that? Vashti asked. Human medicine, Alan said, and the determination of friends who won't give up. Through the night, Alan worked to stabilize the Nexari hatchling. By morning, its scales had brightened, and its breathing was stronger. When Vashti returned, she could hardly believe the change. It's responding to the genetic therapy we started, Alan explained. We'll need to refine it, but I think we can help all your young. Vashti's scales shifted to a pattern Alan hadn't seen before. The translator interpreted her words. For thousands of years, my people have hidden from the galaxy, trusting no one. Now our future rests in human hands, and for the first time in generations, I feel hope. From the doorway, Olivia watched the scene with a smile. What had begun with one injured Draconid mother had grown into something remarkable, a place where the galaxy's most dangerous predators brought their young to humans for protection and care. The sanctuary at Haven was changing the galaxy's understanding of humanity's role among the stars. Not as conquerors or even equals, but as something unique, the species that even the deadliest predators trusted with their young. 1 year had passed since the pirate attack on Haven. The sanctuary had grown into a thriving community with representatives from over 20 different predator species. The original research station was now the center of a small city with specialized habitats, medical facilities, and educational centers. Olivia Reeves stood on the observation platform overlooking the main plaza. Today was a special day. The Alliance Council was visiting Haven for the first time. After the exposure of corruption within the Council, many members had been replaced. The new Council wanted to see firsthand what humans had accomplished. On Proxima Ferox, nervous? Asked Alan, joining her at the railing. A little, Olivia admitted. There's still resistance to what we're doing here. Some species think we're gathering dangerous predators for our own purposes. Alan smiled. They'll understand once they see it for themselves. Below them, the plaza was filled with activity. Young Draconids played alongside Volcron cubs. The 3 Nexari hatchlings, now healthy and growing stronger every day, were being shown around by Zira, who had taken on the role of official guide for visitors. They're arriving, Natalie announced over the communication system. The Alliance. Delegation was impressive. 12 representatives from different member species. They were led by a human diplomat named Sam Carter, recently appointed as Earth's representative to the Council. Commander Reeves, Sam greeted as they reached the platform. On behalf of the Alliance Council, thank you for hosting us. Welcome to Haven, Olivia replied. We've prepared a tour to show you our work here. As they moved through the sanctuary, Alan explained the various projects underway. The council members listened with growing interest, especially when they visited the medical center. This is where we developed the genetic therapy for the Nexari, Alan explained, showing them the laboratory. We've now adapted similar treatments for 3 other species who suffered from engineered genetic degradation. A council member, a tall insectoid being called Zith, leaned forward to examine the equipment. You reversed genetic tampering that was thousands of years old? This is remarkable. Humans have a unique approach to medicine, Alan said. We focus on helping the individual, not just the species. The tour continued to the education center, where Greg was teaching a class of mixed species. Young draconids sat beside Valkron cubs and several other predator offspring. They were studying a holographic display of star systems. We believe knowledge should be shared, Greg explained to the council. Each species has unique insights. Together, we learn more than any could alone. One council member, a reptilian named Srel, seemed skeptical. These are apex predators, natural competitors. How do you prevent conflicts? In answer, a commotion broke out among the students. A young Valkron had accidentally scratched a smaller Nexari with its claws. Before any adult could intervene, Zira, now nearly adult-sized, stepped between them. Calm, she said to the Valkron cub. Remember your strength. Then to the Nexari. You are not badly hurt. Show bravery. Both young predators settled immediately, returning to their lesson without further issue. That's how, Olivia said quietly. They learn from each other, just as they learn from us. The final stop on the tour was the nursery. Here, the newest. Arrivals to Haven were cared for. Eggs from various species rested in specialized incubators. Recently hatched young were tended by both their own kind and human caretakers. Vashti, the Nexari matriarch, was there with her 3 healthy offspring. She approached the council members without hesitation. Before humans, my kind faced extinction, she said simply. Now we have hope. My children will live because of human care. Sariek of the Valkron Pride joined them. The Valkron lost many cubs to sickness before humans came. This year, all cubs in our pride survived. Kexler, who had been quiet during most of the tour, now stepped forward. Her 7 offspring, almost fully grown, stood proudly behind her. Look at my clutch, she said to the council. Strong, smart, they learned from humans what I could not teach, how to work with others, not just hunt them. The council members looked at each other, clearly impressed by what they had seen. Sam Carter turned to Olivia. The council will need to discuss what we've witnessed here. But speaking for Earth, I can say we're proud of what you've accomplished. After the tour ended, and the council gathered for their private discussion, Alan took a moment to visit his favorite spot in Haven, a quiet garden area where he had planted trees from Earth. The draconid hatchlings, now nearly adults, often joined him there. Zira found him sitting under an oak tree. The council is impressed, she said, settling beside him. They did not expect such harmony among predators. Humans have a saying, Alan replied. The best way to make peace is to build something together. You built Haven, Zira observed. And now we all protect it. Their conversation was interrupted by Diane Fuller, who hurried into the garden. Alan, Zira, you're needed in the main conference room. The council has reached a decision. When they arrived, the conference room was already filled with representatives from all the predator species living in Haven. The Alliance Council members stood at the front, with Sam Carter addressing the group. After careful consideration, the Alliance Council has voted unanimously to grant Haven official status as an interspecies sanctuary and research center, Sam announced. Furthermore, we are establishing a new position within the Council, Ambassador for Predator Species, to be filled by a human from Haven. Murmurs of approval filled the room. Olivia stepped forward. We're honored by the Council's decision. There's more, Sam continued. The Council wishes to understand why so many predator species trust humans, specifically with their young. We? Propose a research initiative to study this phenomenon. Alan smiled. He already knew the answer, but explaining it scientifically would take time. He had been studying this question since Kexler first allowed him to help with her HATCHLINGS later that evening. After the celebrations had died down, Alan sat in his laboratory with Kexler, Suryek Vashti, and representatives from several other predator species. Olivia joined them, curious about their discussion. "I've been analyzing brain patterns," Alan explained, showing them neural scans on the large display. "There's something unique about human neurological responses to the young of other species." "What did you find?" Olivia asked. "Humans show the same protective neural patterns when seeing any young creature in distress, human or not. Our brains don't distinguish between species when it comes to protecting the vulnerable." Kexler nodded slowly. "We sense this. Predators know when something is prey and when it is protector. Humans always register as protectors to our instincts." "Exactly," Alan said. "And there's more. Humans evolved as both predator and prey. We understand both perspectives in a way pure predator species don't." "This explains much," Suryek rumbled. "Humans hunt, but not for dominance. You protect more than you take." Vashti's scales shimmered thoughtfully. "A galaxy has many strong species, many smart species. But only humans bridge these worlds." Olivia looked out the window at the lights of Haven glowing in the evening darkness. What had begun as a rescue mission for one injured mother had grown into humanity's greatest contribution to galactic society, a place where the fiercest hunters in the stars entrusted their most precious treasures to human care. "We still have much to learn from each other," she said. "Yes," Kexler agreed, her multiple eyes reflecting the starlight. "But the most important lesson is already learned. Strength is not just in claws and teeth. Sometimes the strongest protector is the one who understands both hunter and hunted." Outside, beneath the alien sky, the youngest generation of Havens. Residents played together without fear, apex predators alongside humans, united in a trust that was changing the course of galactic history. The deadliest hunters in the universe had found in humans not prey or enemy, but the perfect guardians for their future.